Hey everyone, I'm Mackayla, and today on the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast, we have Andy Sydow. So we're really glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you just put out a single, Follow the Rain Down. How has it been received by the fans?
I think well. It's gotten a good number of plays on Spotify, which is really cool. Not that that's a measure of success, but it's sort of become a measure of success in as of late. So I think it's doing well, and I love the song as the first single on this record, and I got to make it with my biggest musical influence. So that's just, I mean, if zero people listen to it and I pressed vinyl and no one bought one and I just had one for my own collection, I'd be happy.
Like that's the making of a good album.
Man, it rocks. I tell you. I love it. I love it.
What was the inspiration behind Follow the Rain Down?
I think a lot of times I try to catch the wind and bend it to my will, if you will. And I think the moral of the song is just to let things come to you a little bit. And I don't think anyone does that 100% of the time. It's hard to do. You have to sometimes actively try to do that. I know I do, but it's something I struggle with. But that's the moral, is just, hey, let what's going to come, the good and the bad, and it is what it is.
That's
It'll
a
all work
very,
out.
very good thing. I think everybody kind of struggles with that at times.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough thing. Yeah, I'm phasey on it.
It's one of those things. It's like you have good days and bad days of doing it.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you collaborated with Anders Osborne. What was that like?
So wild, I think, is the best descriptor I can use, which I realize is not. I realize there's a juicier word I could come up with, but I think wild is the one. And I first saw Anders at the Telluride Blues and Brews Festival when I was a teenager, and I was lucky enough to go to that with my dad for several years. We would go in September and camp and check out music. And I had gone because I wanted to see Jackie Greene and Joe Cocker and a couple other people. I hadn't really been interested in the festival thing before that. My dad had just gone by himself, but this year I wanted to go. And we were just relaxing back in the tent, middle of the afternoon, and we just heard this sound coming from the stage and shaking the mountains. And it was Anders singing this song called "On the Road to Charlie Parker," and it's a song about a drug addiction. Charlie Parker was a jazz artist who died of that, and he said, "I'm on the road to Charlie Parker." And I thought that was such a unique way of saying that. But he was just screaming it, "On the road to Charlie Parker, on the road to Charlie Parker." And he's playing slide guitar and he's throwing his legs up in the air. And it's him and a sousaphone and a drummer. And the three of them are just dancing all over stage and covering all this ground. And I was just captivated by it. I ran up to the stage, watched the rest of the set, and then begged my dad. I said, "Oh, he's playing again tonight. He's doing an indoor set. We got to go. We have to find a way." And we did. We went and waited outside the venue, and somebody was selling a couple tickets or giving away a couple tickets. I don't remember. And, he became a huge influence. And I went home and I started listening to his catalog, and I tuned my guitar to open D just like him. And I put a slide guitar on my pinky just like him. And I don't know if that's like super reminiscent of my style now, but this was the phase I was going through. As I wanted to look like him on stage. He was one of those artists for me, and there have been several where I just admired it so much, and I thought, I want to do that. I really want to do that. So for years, I just went to every show. Anytime he came near where we were living, I made sure to go and stand in the front row, and we sort of developed a rapport as I was the young guy standing in the front row, and it was like, there's not older folks, but there wasn't like a lot of teenagers and 20 somethings at his shows, but I was just so captivated. And during COVID, I then did a cover of one of his songs, and he sent me this. I guess his manager sent it to him, his manager at the time, Phil, and Anders sent me this really nice message about like passing the torch. And of course, I was just incredibly flattered. And so then a couple months later, I worked up the courage to ask his manager, like, hey, would Anders be interested in producing a couple songs for me? And he got back and he said, yeah, of course he would. Like, let's do it. And that's sort of how it came to be. So it's kind of just the most, I know you asked what it was like, but getting to the point was sort of the most amazing thing. And then working together to actually answer your question was incredible. We did a couple Zoom writing sessions. And, he was hard on my lyrics in a good way. He really opened my eyes to some things. And he was hard in the studio too, in a good way. Like, he was very organic. Everything was cut live. So you had to play your part right. But he wasn't about capturing perfect. He was about capturing a moment.
Okay.
And that was so amazing. The songs aren't perfect, but everyone is a moment. And I think that makes it really special. So it was just a great experience all around.
That's awesome. Were you nervous at all going into it?
Yeah, I was nervous the whole time. Like, I don't know if I ever totally settled down. Like, he picked me up from the airport and we drove 3 hours to the studio. And the whole time I'm just like, what's going on? And then, we like cooked a meal together, and then the rest of the band showed up and we all hung out. We went swimming. We made meals. We made music. And the whole time was just sort of surreal. It's hard to know how to describe it. I said it to my guitar teacher, like, it'd be like if you got to make an album with Eric Clapton. It was just a crazy experience. And then he drove me back to the airport and dropped me off. I checked my bags and walked into the airport, and his music was playing in the airport. No kidding, the second I walked in. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine doing something like that with an idol of mine. That's just crazy.
Yeah. An incredibly a fortunate experience. And I try not to forget that, through all the music business things, all the little successes and little failures. I try to remember at the end of the day, man, I got to do something really cool that not a lot of people get to do.
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned that you wrote some songs with him. What was that like? And how did that differ from your normal songwriting?
Well, I wrote the songs, and then I would send him the lyrics.
Okay.
And we'd be on Zoom and he would look over the lyrics, and he might even strum and sing a little bit. And we would just talk about groove and feel, trying different things. And he questioned lyrics in, well, what does that mean? How can you say that better? But again, not a perfectionist. I guess I'll give two quick examples. The lead-off track on the album, which is not out yet, In Love and a Hard Luck Sayer, he looked at the lyrics. He said, it's a beautiful song. As far as the lyrics go, I don't know exactly what it means, but I get it. I wouldn't change this one. And that was cool. Like, it wasn't like this perfectionist mentality. It was like, you captured what you're trying to capture with the song.
Yeah.
I don't need to understand every line. But then another song, Every Little Thing About Love, which will be out before this podcast comes out, because it comes out in like 2 days, I think. There was this line where I was talking about, a woman, and I was like, oh, I'm the right thing for you. Can't you see that? That wasn't the line, but that was the sentiment. And he said, how do you know that? I was like, well, I guess I don't know that. And he goes, that's quite an assumption to make. And we've done it in music for decades. Men have done this in music. He goes, but how do you know? And so we flipped that one line. Gosh, I'm trying to remember exactly what we flipped it to. I'd have to sing the song. But we flipped that one line a little bit to make me a little bit more at the mercy rather than in control, And that changing that one line changed the whole song and made it 10 times better.
And what is your normal songwriting process like?
I sometimes I get a line, a lyric that I work with, but usually it starts with an instrumental riff. And I'll play it and play it and play it, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours, sometimes for years, before I start putting something on top of it. Because for me, the music kind of says what the lyrics are going to be about a little bit. the emotion of the song. Is it a slow song? What key is it in? What's the lead instrument? That can really tell me a lot about the sentiment and what it's supposed to be about. So when people ask me, like, are you music or lyrics first? I think I'm usually a music first kind of guy.
Okay. Yeah. I always find it interesting to see how people start, because everyone is so different with how they start their music. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And I know some people that are just poets, and they write and write and write, and then they say, okay, I got to put music to this. And I find that fascinating because I don't know if I could consistently come up with lyrics, meaningful lyrics, without like a bed already made to put it on top of.
Yeah. So if you're doing the music and then the lyrics, how do you know when it's finished?
That's a great question. Uh, Sometimes not till you get in the studio, and even I was just listening back to something I recorded years ago, and I was like, I don't like that line. So now when I play it live, like I changed one thing about it. So I don't know when they're ever really done, but I'll write a song, and usually I just start playing it live. I mean, I play like 250 times a year. So even when a song's not done, even if it's just a verse and a chorus, I'll start playing it in public, because you can learn so much from seeing people's reactions. Even if you're just playing like background music for a brunch and people aren't really listening to the music, you can really still gauge how well a song's doing and how it resonates with people. So it's hard to know when it's done, but I put all my songs through the ringer, writing wise, performance wise, vibe wise, till I get it just right. But it takes different amounts of time for each one.
So you mentioned playing live and kind of seeing how fans react or people around react. Do you have any memorable moments from performances of reactions?
I have this song called Alibi that I wrote almost 10 years ago now. And I recorded it a certain way. And I love that we recorded it that way. It captured this perfect vibe. But I don't know that it super resonated with people. But it was a song that every time I played it live, people turned their heads. I played it live differently. Every time my band played it live, we'd get a reaction. Someone would go, "What's that song? Where can I find that song? That song made me cry," whatever. And it was one of those that no matter where I played it, at a brunch or at a nightclub or on the road, it's just seemed to get reactions. So I'm trying to remember a specific time of like a special reaction, but that song I think has gotten, even to this day, maybe the most reactions. And that caused us to go in and re-record it the way that we play it live as a band. And it did great when we put it out the second time. But that was a cool one because I feel like I tried it on all audiences and it just continued to cut. And that doesn't happen very often. I think I've only ever had maybe 2 songs that have really done that. Like, you can put it in the set wherever you want because it's going to work.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish they were all like that, but but I'm not Paul McCartney or Paul Simon, so
maybe someday.
They can't be. Yeah.
So do you have a memorable live performance or one that sticks out to you more than others?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many, but my band got to headline the Bluebird Theater in Denver last summer, and that was very special. It was a lot of stress. That's a big venue. I think it's like a 600 cap room. It's a very big venue for us. And there was a lot of stress because it was the first time of like having a little set design and a banner and more logistics than I've ever seen for one of my shows. And luckily I had some help. But when we did the show, it was just so amazing to see all these people that love me and that I love, friends, family over the years there. That was a very, very special show. And I think another one that jumps out was years ago getting to play at Fiddler's Green Amphitheater. I think that was 2018. That's a huge outdoor theater. It was not full. And I was the first of 5 acts that day, but it was, it's like I think it fits like 16 or 18,000 people. So I've never seen anything like that. And I've never seen a stage that size. And it was kind of surreal. I don't see myself playing that size venues consistently, probably at any point in my career, but it was kind of just wild to get that opportunity.
I bet. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So do you have any pre or post show rituals?
Well, I think pre-show, a lot of times you're running around, there's a lot of logistical stuff. So I like to have a few minutes to not worry about anything before I start to play, to kind of level myself back out, because sometimes you're driving somewhere, you're setting up the merch, you're trying to do a sound check. You don't really have time for a good sound check. Boom, boom, boom. And you're on stage just like that. So, I try to give myself a little bit of a buffer. I can't control how long the buffer is always, but just a little bit of time to dial it in. After the show, I like to hang out with friends, maybe have a cold beer, and just relax. And again, like, the packing up can be tenuous too, especially if you're on a multiple band bill and there's like a 15-minute changeover or something. You can't relax when you're done playing, but I like to allow myself the few minutes to do that, at some point after the show.
Yeah. I mean, it's important. You got to ground yourself again. Yeah.
You have to round yourself out again. You also have to be really open to the fact that things aren't going to go the way you pictured in your head. It's just, you have to be patient with, sometimes you show up for a sound check at 5:00 and the sound guy shows up at 7 and you're on at 7:45. Like, that's just how it goes. So you have to be flexible with all the little things. When you eat dinner, when whatever, it just, you got to roll with the punches, but I like to have some consistency on either end as well.
Yeah. Do you have more, like, some memorable ones of, like, shows where things did go wrong?
Gosh, I had all kinds of things go wrong. I played a show in Idaho, maybe 2016, 2017, and we went out on stage and I was feeling great. And it was a pretty full house. I mean, it's this wonderful venue. That's a listening room, and the venue just kind of always draws well. And 2 songs in, I started to feel really bad, like just really crummy. And I realized I didn't know if I had to throw up or what, but I just needed to get off the stage. I don't know if I've ever had that happen before since, but I looked at my guitar player and I said, hey, Andrew over here just put out his own EP. He's going to play a couple songs from it and I'll be right back. I made it like I'm going to highlight another band member.
Yeah.
And give him the spotlight rather than, 2 songs into a set, you would never do that. Just like hand it over to your band. But I did. And I thought it was pretty natural, but it took me about 15 minutes. Maybe I ate something funny. I don't know. It took me about 15 minutes and then I was able to go back on stage, and we rocked it the rest of the night and the crowd loved it. And we did great with merch. And it ended up being a really fun night. So yeah, it was something that was kind of negative. And maybe still ended up negative, the next day. Like, man, that guy just like left for 15 minutes at the beginning of his set.
People remember it though.
Yeah, that's for certain. I mean, I certainly do. I feel lucky that hasn't happened to me since. But whatever it was, like, it wasn't something I could play through. I've been in various states of whatever, pain, having to go to the bathroom, whatever, and you play through it. But this particular time, it wasn't happening.
I'm glad you were able to make it natural and take that time.
I hope so. I don't know if everyone thought it was natural, but I tried my best. The band certainly didn't. They thought it was weird.
Well, they were the ones who are surprised, because the fans don't know if it's coming or not, so they don't know what to expect. But I feel like the band knows that wasn't supposed to happen.
Well, I don't think the guitar player had just put out his own CD either, so I kind of just put him on the spot. But he did great.
That's funny. I like that.
Yeah.
So you started a Kickstarter campaign with this new album. What was the process or the thought process behind starting one?
I never wanted to do a Kickstarter ever. I saw people doing it and I thought I could never ask people for money. And it's interesting because I saw it just like that, like begging for handouts for a long time. It's gotten to the point where everybody does it now. It's become a pretty regular thing. People just, you expect it. So it took me a long time to work up the courage, and it took some convincing for a long time for my manager, Ellie. It was amazing to do it. I just didn't want to. And then I thought, well, this record with Anders is very special, and I want to give it everything I can.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I can do that is to fundraise.
Right.
And the unique thing about this Kickstarter, maybe it's not unique, but the album's done. People usually do a Kickstarter to make an album.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was very upfront about, we already paid for it. It's done. The producer's been paid. The band's been paid. It's been mixed. It's been mastered. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
The product is guaranteed. It's here. There's a single coming out the last day of the Kickstarter, whether we hit our goal or not. So I was able to kind of reach out to my audience and say, specifically, I made the album, and right now I would have to just put it out.
Mm-hmm.
But there's social media, there's ad spend, there's search engine optimization, there's PR, there's radio.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the exact ratio for how I'm going to spend all this money yet, but I need some help to make this stuff happen, to even be able to make the decision on how to promote it. I just kind of need to see what we're looking at money wise. And I thought it was going to be the most stressful month of my life. And it was so incredibly beautiful because so many people donated. And I was shocked a lot of times by how much people were donating.
Mm-hmm.
And it, besides the financial success of it, we reached our goal and then some. There was also the element of just, wow. I think I always tend to say, oh, well, it wouldn't be me. That happens to other people. Good, it wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen to me. That would happen to so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
And this happened to me. And I knew within the first week we were going to hit the goal. And I continued to push it and promote it, but I wasn't like sleeping for 2 hours a night, which is what I thought was going to happen. It just, people were so amazing and wanting to support me. And it just felt so good. I would recommend, if you have a good pitch and a good product and you need a little support, I'd recommend doing one for sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's made it easier for people to put their money behind it, knowing that the product was already made.
Yeah, maybe so. And that was one of the things that Ellie and I talked about was you're going to have to pitch this a little differently to your audience because it's maybe a little atypical from how most people do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we leaned into that. Like, yeah. I'm not talking about doing something here. I did it.
Right.
It's completed. I'm just trying to get vinyl and CDs and promote it and push it in the best way I can.
Yeah. Because I feel like people are always scared when they know there's no finished product yet. They're like, are they actually going to put out the album? Is it actually going to happen? Why am I giving them my money?
Yeah, totally. And I still do, whenever one of my friends does a Kickstarter, I always, I always, at least put something behind it because, I want to just help continue to spread the love, if you will, and help my friends make things. And art's important.
It is. I feel like Kickstarter is definitely a very easy way for people to get some money behind the products or albums that they're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if, you're partially funding yourself and partially asking for a little help on it, it can take so much pain, so much, I shouldn't say pain. It can ease the process, to have a little help for sure, or a lot of help.
Get some of the pressure off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what can you share about this upcoming album? What are you allowed to say about it?
I can say pretty much anything. It's mine. I can say whatever I want. Well, we are hoping to set a release date in the next couple of weeks. We are waiting. We got the album art finished up. My mom painted it. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
And she's a great artist. And we're waiting to hear from the vinyl company. We're looking at 2 different companies at their estimated delivery date. And we're going to push the release date of the album several weeks past their estimated delivery date.
Okay. Yeah.
And not that it has to be digitally and physically available on the same day, but I just want to get a ballpark before we set an exact release date. But I think we're looking at like an October kind of thing. And between now and then, one single came out about 2.5 weeks ago. Follow the Rain Down. Every Little Thing About Love will be out on Friday. I think 3 weeks after that, we got another one. So we're doing a bunch of singles because that's the internet way. When I say album, I think I'm talking about 8 singles and 2 bonus tracks, But yeah, it's in full swing, making content, doing all the things, but we don't quite have the release date set yet because you hate to tell people it's going to be out August 10th and then a vinyl plant say it'll get to you between November 1st and November 15th. And then you're screwed.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so you said your mom made the album art. What was that process like working with her?
Oh, it was a piece of cake. It was a piece of cake because she's my mom and she's great at what she does. So we talked, we decided to call the album Night Skin, which is one of the tracks, I think maybe my favorite. And I think it's going to be the 3rd single. I have to go and look. It's already been set and been submitted to distribution, but I think it's the 3rd single. But we just kind of talked about it and she said, well, what does Night Skin look like? And I like used AI to type in some things and maybe I didn't know how to describe it, what I wanted, because I didn't really know. And so we kind of just toyed around with some ideas. And then eventually she just kind of went for it. And it's this beautiful acrylic, purpley scape of colors. It's not all purple, but I think that's the identifying color of it. And then it's 2 people and they're just all black. It's just like an outline, it's a shadow kind of thing. And they're holding each other in this purple scape. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. And she painted it. She goes, what do you think of this? I might try that. And I was like, nope, that's it. I'm positive.
Yeah. I'm glad that you were able to work with your mom so well, because I feel like if I were to work with my mom, I feel like we'd get in an argument about something.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. No, I just wanted to bring in family as a part of the process. And so it's really hard not to control everything yourself as an indie anything. It's really hard to outsource. And I'm not always good at it. I can, it's easy to get controlling, but with this, I realized I wanted my mom to paint it because she's my mom and she could do a hell of a lot better job than I could. Right. So why go back and forth on it? Like I wanted her vision as part of the collaborative process on the album. And it is. And I asked my mother-in-law to paint single art for one of the songs too. They both paint, and so that's just kind of fun to bring family in on it. Both paintings are great. I mean, I love them, and I love that they're a part of the process. It makes it all the more special, I think.
That's really cool. Has your mom done any of your other album artwork?
She has done a couple of singles. I had this song called Hearts Go On from I think it was 2018, and I had no idea what she would paint for Hearts Go On. And she did what do you call those buses that are in all the old movies, the little buses, like the VW bus?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's like the classic tiny bus or tiny van from the whatever decade, I don't even know. But she painted one of those, the front of it, and had 2 hearts in the driver's seat and the shotgun seat. And I just thought that was the coolest. And she did another one for me at some point too that I didn't end up. I only put it out on Patreon. I think I don't think I put it out on streaming platforms. But yeah, she always comes up with great stuff.
That's awesome. I love that you're incorporating your mom into it.
Yeah, me too. It was. It's really cool. I can't imagine cooler album art. And then of course you get attached. You get attached to it, right? You get attached. And I think my mom thought maybe it was even like a rough draft. And I was like, no, you can't repaint that. Like, don't do it again. Like it won't be the same. Even if you think it's better or whatever, like it won't be this. Like this is perfect. It's what it needs to be.
What did she think about doing the album artwork?
I think she was excited about it. I think I didn't ask directly, like, what are your thoughts on doing this? I just said, I need you to do it. And she did.
Well, at least she did it. So that means she was somewhat excited.
No, I know she was. I know she enjoyed doing it, and it was really cool all around.
So when you are putting together an album, how do you choose which songs and then where to place them in the album?
On this one, I let Anders do it. he said, here's how I hear the songs. And I hired him to produce it. And I produce for other people and as well. So I've been, like I'm on both sides of it. And Anders wouldn't have cared if I'd said, nah, I hate that order. I'm gonna do it this way. But he said, here's the order I hear him in. And I was like, great. So I went with that. I've produced, for quite a few other people too. And obviously it's a push and pull between the producer and the artist. But there's times when an artist can make it hard for the producer to do their job because it's maybe, I don't want to say too involved because it's the artist's record. Yeah. But you have to let the people that you hire do their job. And you hire them because you trust them to do their job. I can't engineer my own record because it would sound bad. I can give some mix notes, but at the end of the day, I have to trust the person that I hired to mix it. And if they mix it a certain way, there comes a point where it's like, well, they're the expert and I hired them to be them. Yeah. I didn't hire them to be me. Otherwise I'd have done it myself and done a worse job at it. So he picked it and I was great with it.
So you had no like second thoughts about it. You just kind of went with it.
Yeah. I mean, especially, I think you can add to the fact that, how long I've admired Anders' artistry, I think made me even less hesitant than I might have been if I'd hired my next door neighbor to produce, because, so much of my experience has come from, my artist experience has come from listening to his music and a few other people. So if that's how he's going to order it, then great, then I'm sure it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah. So how has producing other people's music influenced your own music?
Well, I hope it has been allowing me to let go a little bit more. Kind of as I've been talking about, it's hard not to be in control of everything, but you can't do everything yourself. Everyone talks about, I'm a DIY artist. You can't actually do it yourself. You can write the song and mix the song and master the song and promote the song, yada, yada, yada. But there's a limited number of hours in the day. And though I'd love to be great at everything, I'm not. So I think what I've seen as a producer is the product of when the artist is able to let go and let me do my job, the product turns out better. And of course I want pushback. Of course, that's part of it. Like, I don't want somebody who's going to completely submit to my vision because it's their vision. But there comes a time when, if I think this is the right bass player for the gig and you want your friend to play bass, well, you hired me to produce and this is the bass player that we should have. So let me do that or whatever. So I think having that experience and just seeing, just being with other artists in that way has helped me to maybe let go a little more. And my band recorded another record that'll be next year's record. I always try to stay a couple years ahead on creation and release, but that was one that was co-produced between my 4-piece band and the engineer. So there was 5 of us. And I think before producing other people, I could have never dealt with 5 cooks in the kitchen. And I did have full veto power at the end of the day because producing and artist, but I wanted all of their creative vision to help out. And there was times when, they would do something where I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't do that. And then I'd listen back and be like, well, that's why it's cool, because I wouldn't do that. Connor would do that. And I hired Connor to play bass and some guitar and throw a wacky synth sound on that I wouldn't think about. So yeah, maybe I'm getting long-winded, but I think it's helped me to open me up to the collaborative process a little bit more than I have been in the past.
So having been on both sides, what advice would you give for people who are kind of struggling to give over some of that freedom to either the producer or the artist?
Yeah, well, I would say, to put it plainly, the product is going to be, if you hire the right people, the product is going to be better. And that's not to say, I know some artists that do record everything and mix it and master it, and that's their thing, and it sounds amazing. So I'm not telling other creatives what to outsource. It's a great skill to know what to outsource and know what you can do yourself. And it's a hard realization. what can I get better at versus what should I get someone else to do? I think it's the toughest decision to make. But if you can get past that and bring on the people that are right for the project and let them do their thing, you can't hire the next door neighbor to be a second Andy Sydow, because that doesn't exist. If I bring on the next door neighbor, yeah, it's my project and my vision, but part of the project is the next door neighbor's life experiences and musicality and whatever they bring to the table. That's part of the product, and it will, even if it's not exactly what you're hearing in your head before you go into the studio, it will be better. If you let everyone be themselves and do what they're best at, it's going to be better.
That's good advice. It sounds like it's probably sometimes hard to follow, like giving some of that creative freedom up a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm preaching about it now, but you haven't seen me in the studio. It is very difficult. It's very difficult, especially if you write a song. I mean, I think all of us do this. If you've ever written a song, you hear the finished product, before, even when you're just playing the earliest acoustic demo, you're listening to the finished product in your head. And it never turns out the way you're first hearing it in your head. And that can be frustrating. And sometimes I spend way too much time searching for what I was hearing in my head. And it can really destroy a song. There's a healthy amount of it to be like, this is not supposed to be a bossa nova. This is supposed to be a rocker. Let's bring it back. This is a rocker, not a bossa nova. But it doesn't have to be exactly what you're hearing in your head. If you can let go of that, it'll be better. And people talk about perfectionism. I've had people say, well, I'm a perfectionist. And that to an extent is almost insulting to the creative process, because you're not a perfectionist. You think that the way that you're hearing it is better.
Right.
And it's not. It's not worse. It's not better. It's different. So the perfectionism, I think the true perfectionism comes in letting it not be perfect, but letting it be what it's supposed to be. And on a Saturday afternoon with these 5 players, it is supposed to be a little different than on a Tuesday night with these 5 players. Not if you're making a Nashville demo, you just got to play it exactly right. But as far as artistry is, like, I think that's where the perfectionism comes in, is just recognizing that. And it's very difficult for me to do. It's very difficult for a lot of people to do. But yeah, that's what I got to say about that.
So when you kind of see yourself coming up against that hurdle of the so-called perfectionism, what do you do to kind of get over that?
I want everyone to present their arguments. Gosh, there was something really weird that someone did actually, one of the songs, Night Skin, one of the songs in his Anders album, we did a couple takes of the song, and it was like exactly as I was hearing it in my head, which is wild, because with these other 3 players who didn't know how I was hearing it in my head, we got it. And I said, damn, we killed it. And then Anders said, I don't like it. I want to try it again. And then we do it again. And the whole time Anders is playing these really weird guitar effects. There's like a tremolo and some tape delay. And he's just he's on his knees, like worshiping the universe as he's playing this take. And I'm sitting over there looking at him like, what was wrong with the last take, man? And I was down to do another take because he was hearing something different. It wasn't what I was hearing in my head, but I had brought him on to be a part of my record, to be a part of my creative process. So we go back and listen to it. And it's alarming to go listen to something that you just recorded, because it does not sound the same. When you go into the control room and you're not playing live in the room anymore with the band, it's different. So we're listening back, and the one that last take where he's just doing all these weird guitar stuff, it like parted the sea, parted the swamp. Excuse me. We were in Louisiana. It was so badass, and I had to let go of. I still went back to the last take, and I was like, well, let's listen to this one, because this one's more what I was hearing. And I was hesitant at first, but I saw the reaction around the room. Everybody else in the room was like bobbing their head with my version. it was just, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, this is great, man. But with his version, there was just a movement around the studio, and it's hard to be that open all the time. But in that moment, I think because I was working with an idol, I was more open than I would normally be.
Yeah.
And it was really easy to tell, right? Just pull your head out of your, you know what, and listen. And it was really easy. You could just see everybody else's reaction. I was like, yeah, this is the one. We got to go with this instead.
So you kind of just do it by seeing how everyone else is reacting to different things.
Yeah. And talking about it. In other occasions, I guess that time there wasn't much to talk about because it was so obvious that his version was way better than mine. But for me, because I was hearing it that way, it took longer. But, you know, if somebody wants to play something a certain way, I might say I was hearing distortion in the bridge and like more of a rock and drum groove. And you guys really mellowed out there instead. Why did you do that? Should we try it this other way? What is it about that? And they might say something like, well, it just didn't feel, I mean, we could try it. We could distort it and rock out in the bridge, but I kind of felt like with the lyric wanting to calm down, you know, whatever. I'm trying to make up an example on the spot, but you can gain a lot from just kind of hearing other people's perspectives on it. And sometimes you do have to put your foot down and say, the bridge is supposed to rock. So we gotta somehow, and it's not working right now. We're trying to rock and it's not, it doesn't rock. What's missing? I'm hearing this certain thing. What do we have to do as a group to get it closer to that?
Yeah, makes sense.
It's always a little different, I guess.
I feel like it probably depends on the song.
Totally. Yeah. That's why I'm having so much trouble giving like a good example.
Okay. Before I ask the last question, was there anything else you wanted to mention or talk about today?
I don't think so. I'll remember that when we get off.
Okay.
We get off the line. Yeah.
Okay. So the last question is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
Oh, like a song or an album?
Well, however you want to answer it.
Oh, geez. No hints.
Well, it's your life.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. See, I'm struggling with this. I'm trying to answer this musically. There's so much great music. I think if somebody asked me for the soundtrack of my life, like you just did, I'd give them a list of like 10 records. And I don't think I can give them all to you right this second, but a few of them would be Paul Simon's Graceland, Jackie Greene's American Myth, Anders Osborne's Picasso's Villa. Warren Zevon has a live solo album that I just love that I can't think of the name of at the moment. So many more artists are going to jump into my head when we get off the line. But in asking that question, I would make you a list. I'd make you a Spotify playlist with some of those records on it.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. So for our listeners who want to stay updated and then hear your album and all the singles when they come out, where can they find you? I'm
on all the streaming platforms, and I've got a Patreon, andysydow.com, got a website. So just wherever you prefer, whatever your preferred platform is, I think we're on all of them.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a nice rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.